Cartel violence is one of the most easily deprived things I've ever heard of. There are many videos on the internet of these said violence, but I've also heard many stories that made my stomach churn. But the worst thing I've ever heard is something I recently heard. There was a full-blown concentration camp that was taking place in the Mexican state of Jalisco. The CJNG, or the New Generation Jalisco Cartel, was operating it. The news that came out about the camp is bad enough to make anyone's stomach churn. Warning, I had a hard time making this video as the topics discussed are very inhumane and gruesome. Viewer discretion is advised. In March 2025, a discovery was made in the state of Jalisco. Many people in Jalisco were missing, and a group of people banded together to go find the reason and find their loved ones. The group received an anonymous tip that there was a ranch that was converted into a death camp. So they all headed over to this ranch. When they got to the ranch, they discovered 200 pairs of shoes and personal belongings. There was also notes of people writing to their family that they're going to be killed and the family should stop searching for them. There was also love notes written to husbands or wives saying that they love them their whole life and that they're never going to see them again. The group of people also started digging into the ground, where they discovered bone fragments and ovens where the victims were cremated. It is believed that this ranch was the concentration camp, and the belongings were from the folks who were exterminated. Some of the shoes were even dress shoes. People in Jalisco were deceived into thinking they were going to a job interview, but they're actually going to their death. So think about that for a second. These were people that were thinking they're going to change their lives and make money. They wore their best shoes, their best clothes, but they were met with death. The CJNG used job postings to lure young people into the training camp to join the CJNG. The job postings were for security guards, electricians, and farmers. A lot of people just simply thought they were going to a job to pick strawberries for some extra cash. This couldn't be further from the truth. The CJNG wanted them to train to join the cartel, but the people who were not good at the training were killed. The CJNG, who's ran by El Mencho, has always been known as the most brutal cartel, but now they're resorting to new extremes that have never been done before. The civilians that were hard workers were made to join the cartel. The civilians that couldn't keep up were led to their death and had their bodies cremated. A lot of the victims also died from beatings or dehydration or malnourishment. The victims were also forced to dig holes in the ground for the dead bodies or build the ovens that the dead bodies were going to be cremated in. The CJNG sent Ubers to people who were interested in working. The Uber drivers who were in on this, they were paid by the CJNG to pick up the victims and make sure it was a smooth transition. They would drive them to a house. After the workers got to the house, the CJNG instantly destroyed their phones. This was the point where the people realized this was not a legit job posting. Shortly after, the CJNG forced these people onto buses and brought them to the ranch. When they brought them to the ranch, they asked if anyone wanted to leave. Some of the victims were too scared to say yes. They wanted to leave. The victims that said they wanted to leave were either laughed at or killed on the spot. The victims that weren't killed on the spot were killed later by the cartel, or they were given to other victims to kill them to prove themselves. Another dark discovery that was discovered was there was Disney backpacks, like backpacks with like Snow White on them, or like some princess on them. But this means that there was little girls who were brought to this ranch. The CJNG kidnapped little girls and brought them to the ranch to take advantage of them. Some folks might be asking, why would the CJNG do this? One motivation is that the members of the CJNG are killed or jailed very often while they're doing their crimes, so the cartel has less men to operate, and the CJNG wants to be the biggest cartel in Mexico, so this is bad for them, so they want to bring in new members. They recruit these members through WhatsApp, but now they're resorting to concentration camps to see if they can find people who are strong enough to join the CJNG. They built a death camp just to recruit members. One shocking discovery about all this is that the National Guard, which is the highest level of authority in Mexico, was fully aware of this camp. They raided this camp in September of 2024, where they arrested many people there and discovered 2 victims that were being kidnapped by the CJNG. But why did the National Guard stop there? Well, there's lots of speculations. A lot of people know that the cartel usually pays or threatens the police to allow the cartel to operate. So the National Guard either accepted a bribe, or they fear for their safety and the safety of their family. The state attorney general made a pathetic excuse saying that the ranch was too big for the police force to investigate. The ranch was not that big. There's pictures online. I'll post some pictures of it. But citizens of Jalisco know the real reason this ranch wasn't taken down earlier. The president of Mexico made a statement on all this. Another just poor excuse, but she said this needs to stop. But it didn't stop when it should have. It's very sad to see how all these young people's lives ended up. One citizen even pointed out how the victims thought they were going to have a better salary, a better life, if they got the job that they thought they were going to get. But instead, they were met with death. Have a good day.